Hey guys, behind me, I'm here at Kennedy Space Center, and there is a memorial for the Challenger and the Columbia space shuttles. Behind me is the remains of the Challenger, which exploded a little after liftoff, and that was back in January the 28th, 1986. I was still in high school at that time, so I still remember vividly when it happened, everyone talking about it. And I still have a Time magazine about what happened, and with it exploding, there was some type of seal that had a leak in the ozone layer of the booster rocket, and it caught the whole thing, ignited the whole thing, and exploded a little bit right after liftoff. So it was very sad, and everyone celebrating, families and everything else, and then everyone's happiness turns to tears. Over here is in 2003 the cockpit window from the Columbia. And Columbia was one of the first shuttles to go off, and that on re-entry after a mission, there was some towels that were faulty, and it ignited and burnt everyone to death, and it exploded. So it was very sad. That was in 2003. That was another thing that I remember vividly. But they are doing a memorial for the astronauts that were on both of those flights, so they have that here at Kennedy Space Center. So if you ever here, come on out and pay your respects.
It was a bitter cold but sparkling clear morning at Cape Canaveral. Here, the last seconds of the countdown.
3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
All the communications between the shuttle and mission control indicated everything was going fine. There was a sense of relief that the much-delayed flight was finally underway.
Engines at 65%, 3 engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs. Engines throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
It happened just over 1 minute into flight.
1 minute, 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
From mission control, silence. Then the bland, chilling report.
We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point.
Slow motion. A search effort couldn't begin for some 15 minutes after this. Debris, they said, just kept raining from the sky. The head of the Space Shuttle program had no explanations, just sorrow at the tragedy.
At 11:40 a.m. this morning, space program experienced a national tragedy with the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger approximately a minute and a half after launch from here at the Kennedy Space Center.
Computer-enhanced video shows the explosion in detail. One explosion appears to happen at the rear of the spacecraft, around the main engines, perhaps in one of the 2 solid rocket boosters. Then a blast higher up. The shuttle was instantly a blazing fireball. NASA has appointed a committee of top engineers and scientists to investigate the catastrophe. Orders have been issued to impound all records concerning the flight, down to the personal notes of all the flight controllers. Dan Molina, NBC News at the Johnson Space Center.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Peter Jennings at ABC News headquarters. In the words of a flight director at NASA, it has been a bad day. 7 astronauts have died, their families shattered. The space program has been dealt a terrible blow. The larger family of men and women in space exploration devastated. And the country has been reminded how dangerous it is, and that for all of America's technological genius, it doesn't always work. This morning, just before 8 o'clock Texas time, the Space Shuttle Columbia was just about to finish a picture-perfect 16-day scientific mission. The astronauts' families were by the runway in Florida, poised for a great reunion. Instead, this was the picture that we all saw. Columbia was at 200,000 feet, going 12,500 miles an hour when it suddenly broke up under stress that we still do not understand. 16 minutes from home. We begin our field reporting with ABC's Ned Potter.
Ignition and liftoff of Space Shuttle Columbia
Columbia was on a science mission. 7 astronauts, 16 days, 70 experiments.
A more courageous group of people you could not have hoped to know.
This morning, the crew finished packing up for re-entry. Landing planned for 9:16 this morning Eastern Time on the runway at Florida's Kennedy Space Center. At 8:15 a.m., they fired their engines to begin their return from orbit.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Shuttle landings are normally quiet, but at 8:53 a.m., Mission Control saw some odd temperature readings here along the left wing. A few minutes later, there were more oddities, apparently having to do with the landing gear on the left side. At 8:59 a.m., the shuttle came over Texas, still 39 miles high and moving at 12,000 miles an hour. Mission Control had its last contact with the crew.
And Columbia, Houston, we see your tire pressure messages and we did not copy your last. Roger.
There was nothing more. People on the ground saw the streak of the shuttle breaking up.
And then suddenly things started raining down out of the sky. And it sounded like a boomerang whizzing through the air.
At 9:16 a.m., the scheduled landing time came and went. At 9:29 a.m., NASA officially declared an emergency and impounded all data for the investigations that will follow. At 2 p.m., the president addressed the nation.
These men and women assumed great risk in the service to all humanity. In an age when spaceflight has come to seem almost routine.
What went wrong? Some engineers wonder if the trouble really began at liftoff, when some insulation came off the shuttle's big orange fuel tank and apparently struck the orbiter's wing.
The technical community got together and across the country looked at it and judged that to be acceptable.
NASA quickly said there was no sign of terrorism.
At this time, we have no indication that the mishap was caused by anything or anyone on the ground.
This satellite radar image shows parts of North Texas where most of the debris may have crashed to Earth. But people as far west as California and Utah thought they also saw debris as the ship streaked overhead. Engineers say anything at this point is speculation.
It seemed there was a sequence of events, something that started with one event leading to another and another.
There is no saying what will come of the investigation. The chief flight director said, "When we have a bad day, we find the problem and go fix it." Ned Potter, ABC News, New York.
NASA says none of the seat restraints, helmets, and spacesuits used by the doomed crew of the Space Shuttle Columbia worked well as the ship disintegrated during re-entry. All 7 astronauts were killed in the February 2003 accident. The agency is just now releasing a 400-page report that includes graphic details of the tragedy and what happened in those final moments. In it, the agency says the failure of the restraints, helmets, and suits led to lethal trauma. However, it says it's not clear if the astronauts were already dead or just unconscious from the lethal lack of cabin pressure before the blunt force of the spinning out-of-control shuttle would have killed them. The accident was caused by a hole in the shuttle's left wing that occurred at launch, and debris was found across a wide swath of Texas. Ed Donahue, The Associated Press.